Hello everybody. I promised a second SolidWorks video later this week, and it's Friday, so here's later. Here's where we're at right now, working on this design. We've built the frame. It has the general shape of what we want. I used the tube bender kind of idea. And up here is where I'm going to put my seat. Down here is just kind of a stabilizing bar. Over here is where we're going to put the axle for connecting the wheels. Is probably where I'm going to have the like bike pedals there. Down here, this is probably where I'm going to install like a motor or something, and then back here is where I'm going to connect just some connection bars to connect the wheels. So the next step is I've got this part, and I know I'm gonna have to go modify this part again, but I don't really want to finish this part until I know what the rest of it looks like. In general, I know what this looks like. I know I need a wheel back here. I know I need a wheel up front. I'm probably going to use the same wheel because using standardized parts is a good idea. So, and it's a lot easier in SolidWorks to just use one part multiple times. Make the whole thing out of wheels if I could. Kidding. What we're going to do now is we're going to go up and we're going to create a new file. Again, we're only really focusing on creating parts right now. You can create parts from an assembly drawing. It's just, in my opinion, it's bad practice. But you can. So I'm going to start with a sketch. And for my sketch this time, I'm actually going to be drawing on the front plane. I want to extrude along the front plane, but I'm going to create something on the top plane. And I have my reasons for this. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a rectangular profile. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a relation to make the center point of this line, which if you hover over it long enough, eventually you'll find it. And I'll add this one, and it will make them be horizontal. Okay. It doesn't really do much for determining position, but it does force that to be in line with the origin of this drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. I'll throw some dimensions on this. Here we'll make it maybe I don't know, an inch thick, and then maybe 2 inches thick. And then since for this component I'm designing a wheel, my overall wheel diameter, I want it to be like 30 inches. So the distance between this outline line and this point right here is going to be 15 inches. Okay. And now you'll notice, just zooming in by using scrolling the mouse wheel and panning by holding control and holding on the mouse wheel. I just have a rectangle, and that's it. So I'm going to exit sketch and show you what this looks like. So exit the sketch, go into features. I'm going to do a revolved boss base. Now what a revolved boss base does is it allows you to rotate a profile. And here I have on my selected contours, I'm going to pick this one, about an axis. Now here, I don't have an axis picked. I don't have an axis drawn that I can even really rotate about. So at this point in my drawing, try to find a nice orientation here. At this point in my drawing, I actually can't do the revolve yet. In order to do the revolve, I'm going to create some reference geometry. I'm going to create an axis, click 2 planes, and for my selection, I'm actually going to pick the connection between the top plane and the right plane. Okay, so those two, and having the intersection of them, if I hit yes, it'll create an axis at the origin where that intersection between the top plane and the right plane are. Okay, that was the whole reason why in this sketch I made it so far away from the origin, is because I was going to put an axis there. You could also similarly draw a line in your drawing that defines your axis. That would have worked too. Actually like drawing axes just because I'm weird like that. But I'll go ahead and pick my axis, and you'll notice right away it draws a loop. I have some features that I can change here, like I can only make it a half loop if I wanted. You could also say only rotate up until it intersects with the surface. You can make a thin feature, which will just make it a thin hollow tube, which I mean would be a more accurate tire, but it is what it is. So I will not be doing that. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And this is now my tire. Now my tire looks terrible. This is very old school. It's like one of those old wagon wheels, just throwing some spokes in here and we'll have a good old time. Yeehaw. Yeah, no, I am going to go back in and I'm going to edit this quickly just to give a little bit of a different shape. Now, if you would have done this right the first time, good on you. But I did not. So here I have this rectangular shape. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in and I'm going to fillet this edge here. I'm going to change this edge diameter to about 0.5. Give it a big curve. And I'm going to do the same over here. Pick these two and hit OK and be done with it. And this is going to be my new bike profile. Now I'm going to give a few little central creases in here. This will be like a road tire, something like that. So I will do that. So start on this line, go over here, go back, enter, enter, and then you know what I will do actually is I'm going to move this to the center, so I'll add a relation between this and the center line here, and I will make them horizontal. Okay, so now it spans the center here. I'll give some dimensions to this. This distance here, I want it to only be about the thickness of a penny, so about 0.05 inches. I'll make it real thin. And then for length, I want this to be, I don't know, maybe, they're usually pretty shallow. I'll make it about a quarter of an inch. Okay. So that's my new tread line. Now you'll notice this is fully defined. The only thing I'm missing is I need to trim that. So we'll go in, cut that line, and we're good. Oh shoot, I just cut one of the relations. I will. Yep, oops. I'm gonna have to fix that. I'm actually gonna make it add a relation between that and the center origin, because I know I'm not going to delete that. Okay, so now my drawing should be fully defined again. Huzzah! Now I want to have two more of this, so I'm going to create a linear sketch pattern. I'm going to have it go down the z-axis. Whoa, nope, that's not how you do it. Yeah. I don't want it down the z-axis, I'm just going to go ahead and type in 1 here, which basically says don't do it in the x-axis. Y-axis, I'm assuming that's up and down. We'll say I want 3. Yeah, then it does go up and down. Even though it's weird, it says y-axis, it just means up and down. Don't know why that is. And it's mirroring these lines, and right now I have a distance of 0.1. So, you know what, I'm just going to make this be 2, and I'll have it be 0.25 inches. Yeah, and that looks pretty good to me. So, yep, I'll go ahead and hit yes on that. I'm going to do that again on the other side. Oh, you know what, actually, I'm just going to mirror this feature. So I linear arrayed it to create that one. It's all dependent on this feature. But now, I'm going to mirror about... Oh, I do not have a mirror line. Dang it, I don't have a... I guess I'll just... You can just copy these two. So I could just hit copy, or I could try drawing the feature again down here and making the relations easy. But the nice thing about a linear sketch pattern is that it forces your features to be identical. So once again, I'm going to create 2. I'm going to have it go the other direction, and I'm going to put this at 0.25. Okay, I'll hit yes, and now I have this feature here, this feature there, that feature there. It's just nicely created, a couple of them. Go ahead and trim this line, go ahead and trim this line, click out of that, and now I have my 3 grooves. I'll exit my sketch. You'll notice it automatically updates, and now I have this cool, I inappropriately use the word cool. I have this tire, and this is now a working tire. Now the way that I have this designed right now, this is a solid rubber tire. I don't care if you make yours pneumatic or solid rubber. It's probably a lot easier to design a solid rubber tire. So it really hurts me none. Now, what I will do here in this is I've got this one revolve. I need to put in spokes, and I need to put in a rim. Now, in an actual SolidWorks drawing, you'd probably want to make them different parts, unless you were going to buy this entire thing from one single distributor. I'm planning on buying all of this from one single distributor, so to me, modeling it as this is the tire tread, this is the rim, these are the spokes. While that is accurate because they are parts, in reality, they all come from the same distributor, and I'm not going to be disassembling the rims and spokes and tires, so there's no reason for me to model it as multiple parts. I'm just going to make this wheel be one part. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch here, and this time on this sketch, I'm going to sketch on the front plane, which is what I'm looking at. And I'm going to draw a circle from the origin, that connects with that line. Okay. Now you'll notice this is blue. The reason why it's blue is because I haven't added a relation to force it to fit there. So I'll go ahead and do that. Oh, it's not going to let me do that. But I can create a smart dimension to do it. And I'm going to force that distance to be 0. So now it is brought up flush with this edge. And because the dimension is relative here, if I do make my wheel size larger, this will always stay at 0. I'm going to draw a second circle that's going to define my inner rim. Smart dimension, this to this, and my rim width is probably going to be about 1.5 inches, so 1.5. Okay. Then I will exit sketch. Now, because I was drawn on the center plane, you'll notice that it's right in the middle of my wheel. So what that means is when I do this extrusion, extruded boss base, I'm going to be extruding on the midpoint. So rather than blind, we'll do mid-plane. And then the overall width of this, I believe, was 2 inches. So I will say 2 inches. And hit yes. And that's my rim. So now I have the tire tread, I have the rim, which that is a gigantic rim. But you know what? I made a rim. The next part that I'm going to want to make is in a wheel, there's a center bearing. Now, I told you not to focus on connections yet. Here, we're going to have to focus on connections. We can make this whole thing solid if you really wanted to. But we're going to have to focus on connections at this point because we've reached the point where connections matter. So what I'm going to do once again is I'm going to sketch, and I'm going to make my sketch on the front plane. And I'm going to draw just a center wheel bearing, which consists of, it's basically a hollow tube that your axle runs through. Okay. So, I got those. Go ahead and smart dimension. This tube thickness, they're pretty thin tubes. This is about 0.125 inches. And then the inner diameter of this I shouldn't have selected the origin for some reason. I'm too busy doing this in AutoCAD. The inside of this, we'll say, is about 1 inch. Because usually the center hubs are not very thick. And I might, you know what, just beef this out to make it 1/4 of an inch thick now, just because we're going to be putting some loading on that. And we need some space to project to for our spokes. So go ahead and exit sketch. And once again, I drew this on the center plane, so I'm going to have to do a mid-plane extrusion. Now this is going to go a little bit outside of the tire because usually these hubs, they do extend a little bit out. So once again, I'm going to go to Extruded Boss Base. Here, because I drew it in the very center, I'm going to do a mid-plane extrusion. And here I actually want this to be about 4 inches. So, yay, now you have a center to my wheel. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make spokes, and I'm not going to make them very well. No, I'm going to make spokes well. What am I talking about? I don't have to be a terrible person. I mean, I choose to. I don't have to be. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to draw this, and I'm going to draw it on this. I'm going to draw on what, the right plane. So do sketch. Go up to my planes, pick right plane. So now I am sketching on the right plane. I'll go up to my tools. This allows me to change my view orientation. I'm going to pick normal to, and that just means that now I am normal to my drawing plane. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to create a single spoke. I want it to be circular, and I want it to go out like that. So here I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and then I'll rotate the rectangle to make it into a circle. So start my rectangle here, and I will end my rectangle. Oh, where are you? Oh, but way up here. Way up here. Okay, so that's going to be the length of my spoke. My spoke goes from that center hub. Oh, I guess I should have it go to the inside of my rim, huh? Oops. I'll fix that in smart dimensioning. Oh, it's trying to make me create an angle here. Yeah, that is a 90-degree angle. Yes. I'll go ahead and click this to become right. Oop. Let's see if I can select the inside of this rim. No, I actually can't. That sucks. Oh, and I haven't saved in like 20 minutes. So you know what? I'm just gonna smart dimension this. So let me see if I can select this line way up here. Or a point or something. Come on. Come on, man. Oh, it's not gonna let me. I think I can select this point here. I was able to earlier. You know what? No, I can't. So I got, this is ½ an inch. Up here, this is 1.5 inches, so that's 2. And then I got 1 inch, so that's 3. And this is all 15 inches, which means the dimension of this line should be 12. Okay, and my spoke, I want it to be pretty thin, so I'm going to make this just 0.15, pretty thin. And I want to add a relation here because, again, I want my spoke to be about in the center. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this point here, which it appears this point nicely stayed on that line. But I'm going to, nope, not smart dimension, going to add a relation. That forces my center point and my origin to be vertical. And if I'm right, that fully defines my drawing. Go ahead and check up here real quick. Yep, we're good to go. So if I exit sketch, click Revolved Boss Base while the sketch is selected, I only need to rotate this 180 degrees. And the axis of revolution, oh, I didn't even draw an axis. It's 2 times in a row I forgot to do that. I'll go back on my sketch and I'll just draw it in there. So right click, up to edit sketch, create a center line, and it's going to go from your center I remember to hold down Control when I use the center mouse wheel button to your center. Escape, exit sketch, and now we have an axis that I can rotate around. So Revolve Boss Base, I'm going to go ahead and pick this drawing. It automatically selects the line because I drew it in as a center line. It automatically recognizes, oh, you probably want to use that, you know, as a center line. So Selected contours. Oh, I actually picked the wrong line. Pick this line. There we go. And then selected contours. I want that. And I only want it to go 180 degrees. It's not giving me doesn't like that I'm mirroring about the center. Wonder if I can just, yeah. Oh, there we go. Does the same thing. I only ended up rotating 1/2 of this. Now I only made it go 180 degrees. So I've only got half of a spoke. So I'm gonna need to go back and fix that. Whoops. Sometimes you just have to work with a program. Okay, so now I have one spoke. Nice. Now having one spoke does make everything a lot easier, because now I can do a rotational pattern. So here's a linear pattern in the features tab. Switch this out for a circular pattern. Okay. This is my revolve. That's what I want to go around. On the direction. Oh, I'll pick a. I'm going to pick this axis as my center point, and it has already assigned that I want 24. I think that actually looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. And there's my tire. It's got a 1-inch center hub. It's got a 1.5-inch outer rim, a 1-inch tire outside of that. But I have a tire. And the thing about this is I put this axis in here. This axis is something that I'm going to need to use when I connect to this wheel. So we will talk about that in another video, but now I can take this and I can look at my other SolidWorks file that I have open, which is this one, and this wheel is going to go about right here and one over here. They're both going to be about the same size. They're both going to be exactly the same size. But those are now my two parts. So I'll go ahead and file, save this, and save this as a wheel. Okay. Again, I could go back in and edit this if I ended up deciding that I don't like that. I'll have to make some changes. If I do shrink the rim diameter, which based on the way that I made it, it's not pretty. If I shrink this rim diameter and I say, you know what, this should only be 3/4 of an inch, I'll double click on this dimension that I used to create it, change it to 0.75, and then hit yes. Exit sketch. Based on the way that I made this, my Revolve 3, oh, why do I even have a dimension there? I don't understand what that's doing. Yeah. Exit sketch. Circular pattern's having some issues. Oh, it just wants me to verify it again. Aren't you? Why aren't you showing up? Back in and fix that again. For some reason it's not happy. I think maybe it's in part because I drew the spoke poorly. We'll notice it doesn't even go up to that surface. So you know what? I'm going to go back in and fix this spoke too, because I do not want to delete the circular pattern. Oh, no, I will. I'll have to delete it. Delete. I'll delete the circular pattern too. Leaves the sketch. I'm actually going to delete the sketch too. I'll try again. This time what I want to do is I'm going to create a plane to draw on that's going to be on the outside of this. So create a plane, and my first reference is this outer surface. The second reference that I need is that I want it to be front plane, and I want it to be parallel to the front plane. Cannot be perpendicular to axis. It's not perpendicular. I wonder if my second reference I can use the axis itself. And nope, I can't. Doesn't like that. I want it to be. Oh, it's top plane. There it is. I can make them perpendicular and do that. You know what? I don't want it to be perpendicular. I want it to be perpendicular to the front plane. No. For some reason, it just really does not like it when I select the front plane. So, gonna make it parallel to the top plane. Oh, I meant the top plane. I accidentally did. Okay, and then I'm going to draw on that sketch. Now this sketch is always, this plane is always going to move. Whatever the diameter of that hub is, that plane is going to move with it. So if I click sketch, I've already got the plane selected. I'm now sketching on that plane. What I'll do here is I'm just going to draw a circle. I'll go to the top view so that I'm parallel with it. Draw a circle at the origin. I'll smart dimension it so that it's 0.15. That's what I wanted. Nice. Just like that. And now it's fully defined. I exit sketch. Okay, now instead of doing the revolve method, I'm going to do the extruded boss base, and I'm going to make it go from this plane up to there, and then down to this circle. So two different extrusions. Extruded boss base. I'm going to have it go up to next. And then we'll go direction 2 and then up to next. Hit yes. And now you'll notice that if I zoom in here, it actually kind of curves this a little bit to project downward into that circle. And up here, it projects up to there. So now if I change my rim diameter again, it should stay inside of here. So now I'll go back and do my circular pattern again. I've got my boss extrude 3, and for the direction, I'm going to have it extrude around the center axis. I'm okay with 24. I'm not going to play around with that. Hit yes. And now, there we go. There's a tire, and it has much more nicer proportioned rims. Although I still don't like those rims. I'm going to change that to be about. No, that rim just looks weird. I don't like it. I feel like it didn't change at all. Oh, it did. It still sucks. change this to 1/2 inch. So 0.5. Let's make it really thin rim. I think the rim should be thinner than the tire itself. And now when I go back, why is that so friggin' huge? Oh, it's because it's merging with the tire above it. Yep. So that's my part. I'm actually going to go in and make the rim a little bit thinner so that it shows up better. So I'll go back into here, and instead of extruding it outward 2 inches, we're going to do 1.5. And that'll just make the rim show up relative to the tire. So you can now see where the rim ends and where the tire begins. And I'm pretty happy with that wheel. I'm gonna go ahead and pat myself on the back. That wheel looks great. I've designed part of a body and now a wheel. But I like this. It looks good. So I'll go ahead and save again. And I am done with this wheel. I probably won't make any more edits to it because this is the exact wheel assembly that you would purchase from online. It's got connection point to it, which I'll just have to force a connection point. It's a journal bearing basically. I will work on that when I create the axle for this, but I will do that at a later date. For now, I got this wheel, I got my central hub, and I got my outline of what I'm going to do for my chassis. So that's going to be it for this week. Next week, I'm going to design the suspension for my rear wheel of how I'm going to connect it to my chassis. And that'll be probably front and rear suspension that I'm going to be designing there. And yeah, we'll see you next week.